this piece, how much longer was done based on selected past experiences of racial hatred against my person. And these are selected 24 incidences that have occurred through my early years of child development and informative years. So wherever you see the pink baby pins, symbolize that point in time when childhood information is being is being influenced in some way. And remember, I have this quote that I often hear my mother saying, is that childhood experiences set your values for life. And so these were important times, and I think I could have chosen to go a lot of different directions had I not had the support system that I've been so blessed to have. But this particular quilt, I started out thinking, I want to show these awful acts that have happened to my person, which are not unlike the Black experience across America. But I wanted to attract people with something that was beautiful. So I went into the fabric shop and asked the lady for I wanted beautiful, like, baby fabrics. So I got pinks and blues and lavenders and lace for that, and to attract people and to get your eye. And then, upon close inspection, as you get up to it, you realize that it's not so sweet and nice, but these are actually, some of them are just horrendous acts of just hatred, racial hatred. And I think that's how racism hits you, that suddenly, I mean, you think everything is wonderful, and suddenly it's like a smack in the face. It gets your attention. So this entire quilt is put together with pins. There are no stitches in it. And the pins symbolize the pain from the racial hatred. And I often will leave a lot of these pins actually open so that people can see and feel the prick of the point of the pins. So between the safety pins that are open as well as the stick pins is how this entire piece has been formulated. In the center is more like a placemat, because I wanted to suggest again that these are taught to us very early on. So the baby spoons, and in the pins it spells out the word tolerance, which even today I'm giving a little more thought to. But it's about education and letting people know that you have to respect the voices of others. But this word tolerance, in many ways, suggests to me that you are allowing things to happen that really shouldn't. And maybe this is just the first level of understanding, that you tolerate, or you have a sense of tolerance for other people's ideas and other people's beliefs and all of that. But when it becomes hurtful, then maybe that's when the education piece should really, really kick in. But I remember just from childhood, when you talk about identity and issues of identity, it starts with just the name calling and the words that we use that are here. It's about the kind of environmental racism. I lived in a community in the projects in Cherry Hill, South Baltimore, with the Curtis Bay chemicals and everything, just a little south, and the steel mills. There was a railroad track behind the house, and just a couple blocks away was the dump. And so just environmentally, we were encased in this, not in my neighborhood, but not in your neighborhood, but definitely in mine kind of concept. When I got out of high school, or when I was in high school, my teacher was with integration. My teacher didn't want to read my papers, and just because I was the only black person in the class, my papers always got a C and no comments, and my white counterparts got their papers back with A's and B pluses with lots of comments and words for improvement. So, that when I started practice teaching or student teaching in 1965, place in my community in Glen Burnie, Brooklyn Park, the teachers there wouldn't even let me, they would get up off of the sofa when I sat down. They'd leave the room. And the real thing was when I went to go to the bathroom, one of the teachers stood in front of it and told me I couldn't use the bathroom. She said, "Where do you think you're going? You can't use this bathroom because once you do, no decent white person would want to use it." So, you know, those are kinds of things that happen. I also recall that in the 60s, my mom was a domestic and working in Upper Baltimore. Right now, Park Heights and Buckingham Road, which is just a little bit north of Northern Parkway. But if you were a domestic there, at the end of the line, you couldn't get off the bus if you're white. The person with whom you worked wasn't there to pick you up. So you had to get like back on the bus and go because you just were not trusted to be in that space. So that's what all these stories are about. As you move through and down really the bottom of this particular.
I'm sure that, you know, I just like